And the land was not large enough for them to live together because their possessions were great, and the land was not large enough for them to live together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle, and the Canaanites and the Perizzites then inhabited the land. And Abram said to Lot, Let there be not strife between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we are brethren. Lo, is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself from me. If thou goest to the left, I will go to the right, and if thou goest to the right, I will go to the left. And Lot, having lifted up his eyes, observed all the country round about Jordan, that it was all watered before God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah as the garden of Hiah, and as the land of Egypt, until thou come to Zagorah. And Lot chose for himself all the country round Jordan. And Lot went from the east, and they were separated, each from his brother. And Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan. And Lot dwelt in the city of the neighboring people, and pitched his tent in Sodom. But the men of Sodom were evil and exceedingly sinful before God, before Hiah. And Hiah said to Abram, after Lot was separated from him, Look up with thine eyes, and behold from the place where thou now art northward and southward, and eastward and seaward. For all the land which thou seest, I will give it to thee and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed like the dust of the earth. If anyone is able to number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed be numbered. Arise and traverse the land, both in the length of it and in the breadth, for to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And Abram, having removed his tent, came and dwelt by the oak of Mamre, which was in Shebron, and he there built an altar to Hiah. And it came to pass in the reign of Marphel, king of Sinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, that Shadagomor, king of Elam, and Thargo, king of nations, made war with Bala, king of Sodom, and with Barsa, king of Gomorrah, and with Sinar, king of Adamah, and with Semabor, king of Seboam, and the king of Balak. This is Segor. All these met with one consent at the Salt Valley. This is now the Sea of Salt. 12 years they served Sodom and Gomorrah, and the 13th year they revolted. And in the 14th year came Sodom Gomorrah, and the kings with him, and cut to pieces the giants in Astra, and Carnan, and strong nations with them, and the Omaeans in the city Save, and the Shoreans in the mountains of Seir, to the turpentine tree of Faran, which is in the desert. And having turned back, they came to the well of judgment. This is caves, and they cut in pieces all the princes of Amalek, and the Amorites dwelling in Asan Thamar. And the king of Sodom went out, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Adamah, and the king of Seboim, and the king of Balak. This is Segor. And they set themselves in array against them for war in the Salt Valley, against Shadagomor, king of Elam, and Thargo, king of nations, and Amarphal, king of Sinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, the 4 kings against the 5. Now the Salt Valley consists of slime pits, and the king of Sodom fled, and the king of Gomorrah, and they fell in there. And they that were left fled to the mountain country, and they took all the cavalry of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their provisions, and departed. And they took also Lot, the son of Abram's brother, and his baggage, and departed, for he dwelt in Sodom. And one of them that had been rescued came and told Abram the Hebrew, and he dwelt by the oak of Mamre, the Amorite, the brother of Eshcol, and the brother of Onan, who were confederates with Abram. And Abram, having heard that Lot his nephew had been taken captive, numbered his own home-born servants 318, and pursued after them to Dan. And he came upon them by night, he and his servants, and he smote them and pursued them as far as Shobah, which is on the left of Damascus. And he recovered all the cavalry of Sodom, and he recovered Lot his nephew and all his possessions, and the women and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after he returned from the slaughter of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the kings with him to the valley of Sabi. This was the plain of kings. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth loaves and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God, and he was the priest of Hiah. And he blessed Abram and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High, Hiah, who made heaven and earth, and blessed be Hiah, who delivered thine enemies into thy power. And Abram gave him the tithe of all. And the king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the men and take the horses to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I will stretch out my hand to Hiah, the Most High, who made the heaven and earth, that I will not take from all thy goods, from a string to a shoe latchet, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich, except what things the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men that went with me, Eshel, Onan, Mamre, these shall take a portion. And after these things, the word of Hiah came to Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I shield thee. Thy reward shall be very great. And Abram said, And Abram said, Hiah, what master and Hiah. And Abram said, Hiah, what wilt thou give me, whereas I am departing without a child, but the son of Masek, my homeborn female slave, Masik? This Eliezer of Damascus is mine heir. And Abram said, I am grieved, since thou hast given me no seed, but my homeborn servant shall succeed me. And immediately there was a voice of Hiah to him, saying, This shall be thine heir, but he that shall come out of thee shall be thine heir. This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come out of thee shall be thine heir. And he brought him out and said to him, Look up now to heaven and count the stars, if thou shalt be able to number them fully. And he said, Thus shall thy seed be. And Abram believed Hiah, and it was counted to him for righteousness. And he said to him, I am Hiah that brought thee out of the land of the Chaldeans. Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. I don't know why I'm yarning. So, as to give thee this land to inherit. And he said, Hiah, how shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said to him, Take for me an heifer in her 3rd year, and a she-goat in her 3rd year, and a ram in his 3rd year, and a dove and a pigeon. And so he took to him all these, and divided them in the midst, and set them opposite to each other. But the birds he did not divide. And birds came down upon the bodies, even upon the divided parts of them. And Abram sat down by them, and about sunset a trance fell upon Abram, and lo, a great glooming terror falls upon him. And it was said to Abram, Thou shalt surely know that thy seed shall be a sojourner in a land not their own, and they shall enslave them and afflict them, and to humble them 400 years. And the nation whomsoever they shall serve I will judge. And after this they shall come forth hither with much property. But thou shalt depart to thy fathers in peace, nourished in a good old age. And in the 4th generation there they shall return hither, for the sins of the Amorites are not yet filled up until now. And when the sun was about to set, there was a flame, and behold, a smoking furnace and lamps of fire. which passed between these divided pieces. And that day Hiah made a covenant with Abram, saying, To thy seed I will give this land from the river of Egypt to the great river Euphrates, the Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Cadmonians and the Shettites and the Pharizzites and the Rephaim and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Evites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. And Sarah, the wife of Abram, bore him no children, and she had an Egyptian maid whose name was Agar. And Sarah said to Abram, Behold, Hiah has restrained me from bearing. Go therefore unto my maid, that I may get children for myself through her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarah. And Sarah, the wife of Abram, having taken Agar, the Egyptian, her handmaid, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, gave her to Abram, her husband, as a wife to him. And he went into Agar, and she conceived, and saw that she was with child, and her mistress was dishonored before her. And Sarah said to Abram, I am injured by thee. I gave my handmaid into thy bosom, and when I saw that she was with child, I was dishonored before her. The higher judge between me and thee. And Abram said to Sarah, Behold, thy handmaid is in thy hands. Use her as it may seem good to thee. And Sarah afflicted her, and she fled from her face. And an angel of Hiah found her by the fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Sur. And the angel of Hiah said to her, Agar, Sarah's maid, whence comest thou, and whither goest thou? And she said, I am fleeing from the face of my mistress Sarah. And the angel of Hiah said to her, Return to thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of Hiah said to her, I will surely multiply thy seed, and it shall not be numbered for a multitude. And the angel of Hiah said to her, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael. For Hiah has hearkened to thy humiliation. He shall be a wild man, his hands against all, and the hands of all against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called the name of Hiah, and she called the name of the Lord Hiah, who spoke to her, Thou art Hiah, who seest me. For she said, For I have openly seen him that appeared to me. Therefore she called the well of him whom I have openly seen. Behold, it is between Cades and Bered. And Agar bore a son to Abram, and Abram called the name of his son which Agar bore to him Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Agar bore Ishmael to Abram, and Abram was 99 years old. And Hiah appeared to Abram and said to him, I am Hiah, be well pleasing before me, and be blameless, and I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and I will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell upon his face, and Hiah spoke to him, saying, And I behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of multitude of nations. And thy name shall no more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abram. For I have made thee a father of many nations, and I will increase thee very exceedingly, and I will make nations of thee, and the kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between thee and thy seed after thee to their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be Hiah and Hiah of thy seed after thee. And I will give to thee and to thy seed after thee land where thou shalt sojourn, even all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, and I will be to them Hiah. And Hiah said to Abram, Thou also shalt fully keep my covenant, thou and thy seed after thee for their generations. And this is the covenant which thou shalt fully keep between me and you, and between thy seed after thee for their generations. Every male of you shall be circumcised, And ye shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be for a sign of a covenant between me and you. And the child of 8 days old shall be circumcised by you, every male throughout your generations, and the servant born in the house, and he that is bought with money of every son of a stranger who is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with money, shall be surely circumcised, and my covenant shall be on your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised male who shall not be circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin on the 8th day, that soul shall be utterly destroyed from its family, for he has broken my covenant. And Hiah said to Abram, Sarah thy wife, her name shall not be called Sarah, Sarah shall be her name. And I will bless her and give thee a son of her, and I will bless him, and he shall become nations, and kings of nations shall be of him. And Abram fell upon his face and laughed and spoke in his heart, saying, Shall there be a child to come to one who is 100 years old, and Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear? And Abram said to Hiah, Let this Ishmael live before thee. And Hiah said to Abram, Yea, behold, Sarah, Shahar, thy wife, shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant to be Hiah to him and to his seed after him. And concerning Ishmael, behold, I have heard thee, and behold, I have blessed him, and I will increase him and multiply him exceedingly. 12 nations shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to thee at this time in the next year. And he left off speaking with him, and Hiah went up from Abram. I'm going to stop there. Thank you for listening. I'm going to bookmark this right here. And this is where we'll pick off later. Peace and blessings, YouTube family.